Mishpacha, it's Courtney, America's Jewish Mother. Welcome back to my channel. I am here today with a Friday Reads video, but before I do that, I wanted to talk a little bit about the holiday, the Jewish holiday of Rosh Hashanah that is coming up starting tonight. So Rosh Hashanah is the beginning of the Jewish New Year, and basically it starts a period of 10 days that ends with Yom Kippur, which is the Jewish Day of Atonement, and those days are referred to as the Days of Awe. And basically during this time period, you're supposed to reflect about your previous year and the actions that you've taken and think about what kind of person you're aiming to be in the new year. You're also supposed to think about people that you've potentially wronged over the past year and make amends between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. It is said that Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, atones for sins between man and God, but for sins between men and women, the Day of Atonement doesn't atone until they've sought atonement from one another over those things. So yeah, unlike the secular New Year, it's a very reflective sort of period, an introspective period, and I actually quite like that because, you know, we're really worried throughout most of the year about just regular everyday concerns like work and our family and our relationships, and I mean, I'm not trying to say that those things are not important, but what I really like about the Days of Awe is that they focus my attention on loftier spiritual concerns. And it's going to be a little tough this year since everything is virtual and it's very different and you're not sharing the High Holy Days with the community like normal, but I hope that it will still be a good and reflective period. And by the way, in case you have any Jewish friends, you can greet them during this time with Shana Tova, which means may you have a good year. So with that being said, let's get into the Friday Reads portion of this video. The first book I finished this week was Zora Neale Hurston's Their Eyes Were Watching God. This was a reread for me because I am teaching it in one of my classes this semester. So I ended up giving this 4 stars. This is a classic text in African American literature. It was published in, I believe, 1937. And Hurston was an anthropologist, or she studied anthropology in college, and you can really kind of tell that in her writing style, especially in this novel. She really paints with a broad brush and wants to show you what people were like and how they talked and how they interacted with each other. So you get a lot more of that than you get necessarily of character interiority. By the way, this follows, in case people don't know, this follows Janie Crawford, a young black woman from her teenage years up through adulthood and through several relationships in her life. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. So in some ways it's a coming of age story, although the bulk of the novel takes place after Janie is already an adult, but you do get some coming of age in there. Yeah, anyway, so like I said, Hurston paints with a pretty broad brush, and you do occasionally get interiority of Janie's character, but it's not as much as you might expect from maybe a more character-driven novel, even though this does focus on Janie as a character. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this, especially if you have an interest in black woman-centered literature or early African-American literature, or even, you know, novels that take kind of like an anthropological bent. But yeah, a classic, 4 stars. The second book I finished this week was Love Medicine by Louise Erdrich. This is the first in Erdrich's Love Medicine series, and it pretty much traces 2 native families. It's sort of multi-generational, and the way this is structured is basically like a series of interconnected short stories, like I said, spanning several generations within these 2 families, the Cashpaws and the Lamartines. You also get some exploration of the Morriseys and the Nanapushes, but those are sort of secondary to our main 2 families. And so you basically see the ways in which these two native families are connected to one another. You see the characters in this book struggle with life and love and loss. And yeah, it's good. I found it a very compelling read overall. There were probably a few too many characters for me and a few too many stories. I probably would have preferred the novel to be a bit tighter and more focused. But I did like it overall. I did not like it quite as well as I liked Erdrich's Tracks, which I read over the summer and loved and gave 5 stars to. But this is still a very engaging and compelling read for me. So I ended up giving it 4 stars. I really appreciated that Erdrich includes, and I think she does this in at least all of her books that I've seen, a family tree / genealogy at the beginning, which is very helpful. I often referred to it throughout reading this text. I think my favorite stories in here were the ones that featured Sister Leopolda, just because she's such a great love to hate her kind of character. And I know she features in the last report on the Miracles of Little No Horse, so I'm definitely looking forward to getting to that one, probably in November or December. But yeah, I highly recommend this. It's really good if you like multi-generational family stories, and definitely it's also good if you want to learn more about Native American literature. Oh, I should also say that the earliest stories you get in here are set in about 1934, and then the novel goes mostly chronologically. The first story is set in the 80s, but aside from the first story, it goes all the way back to 1934, and then you sort of slowly work your way forward up into the mid-1980s. So that's the way it's structured. But yeah, like I said, I really liked it overall. I found it engaging and compelling, and I would recommend it 4 stars. So in terms of the books I'm currently reading, I'm still reading The Women of Brewster Place by Gloria and Naylor. I'm doing this as a buddy read with Lindsay from Lindsay's Book Life, and this is also the September. Yeah, we're in September. God, time has no meaning anymore. I don't even know what month we're in. Anyway, this is also the September pick for the Barter Hordes Backlist Book Club. So yeah, I'm about, how far am I into this? 90 pages? Yeah, 90 pages into this, so I think I've read 3 stories so far, and I really like this. I'm finding it engaging and a pretty quick, compelling read, so yeah, I'm still liking this. I'm also still doing my buddy read of Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez with Greg of Supposedly Fun. And we are, I think, about 100 pages into this. Yeah, a little over 100 pages into this. And yeah, this is really good. And I'm glad that I'm reading it with Greg, because he and I have had some of the same questions come up about what we've seen happen so far in this book. And I think it's good to have someone else to sort of talk those things out with. So yeah, I'm still reading and enjoying this and curious to see. It seems like in the next section we're set to read, we're going to see more of the courtship of Fermina and her eventual husband, Dr. Juvenile Urbino. So I'm curious to see how that will go. And yeah, so I'm still enjoying this. And then the last book I'm currently reading, which I just started yesterday, is Born to Kvetch, Yiddish Language and Culture in All of Its Moods by Michael Wex. And yeah, this is basically, as implied by the title, a sort of chronology and exploration of Yiddish language. And so I think he does, it seems like based on the introductory stuff, and I'm not even all the way through the first chapter yet, but it seems like he's sort of tracing the origins of Yiddish and its connections to Judaism, particularly the Talmud. And then it seems like a bit later on in the book, after he gives you a lot of historical context, he's going to talk about Yiddish in a variety of contexts. So, for example, Yiddish and nature, or Yiddish and food, or sex in Yiddish, or death in Yiddish, etc. So, yeah, this is pretty light and enjoyable so far. So, yeah. Alright, so that's everything I've either finished this week or am currently reading, and I would love to hear if you have thoughts about any of these books that I've mentioned. I would also love to hear what you've currently been reading and enjoying of late. I hope everyone is staying healthy and well. I hope you're doing good reading whatever you're reading. And until next time, what did kill you to call your mother?